Well, the Texans played a lackluster game today. I am disappointed from what we've seen from the Texans, and I'll discuss that and more on this episode of Sports Social Live. Subscribe, like, share. Let's get to it. Well, if you're watching this, you're a Texans fan, most likely, or a Jags fan who came through to see somebody talk about the game. And it was a lackluster game for both teams, but even more so for the Texans. We came out pretty slow, pretty dead. We did what we always do, what it seems like there's a new norm of just litter the field with flags. I mean, we have to be the most penalized team in the National Football League. And probably we were fourth last week, and we're more than likely going to end this week being the first in penalties. That aside, the Texans' offense was extremely lackluster. So was Jacksonville's. After an early muff punt, it looked like Jacksonville got on the board and started the early kind of game swing. Texans defense played decent in the first half, holding them to that one short field touchdown, and then they went and got a field goal after that. But the Texans offense just could not put it together in the first half. It looks like Bobby Slowick is trying to do a little bit more than what is needed with all the weapons that he's had. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I mean, it is a frustrating thing to watch, a frustrating, just so much talent that you just get mad. You rather learn lessons in a win than a loss. But I just don't see what Bobby Slowick it has going on for this team. It's extremely frustrating. If you're a Texans fan out there, we had these Super Bowl dreams, championship dreams, contender, AFC dreams, all the dreams. But it seems like they're falling flat on this offensive line and offensive game management. I'll get into that a little bit later. Matter of fact, I'll get into that now. Let's discuss some things. One, subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share. I want to build this community of true Texans fans. We are true Texans fans here at Sports Social Live, and we just want to build something that everybody would like to see. Right now is a time where Texans fans need to come together and band together and support other content creators. I like seeing other Texans content creators out there doing well. But back to what we're talking about. We are talking about the offensive struggles today. If you didn't see this game, if you look at the stats, you're going to look at them saying that CJ threw for over 300 yards. CJ did this and CJ did that. But what you're not going to see is multiple end arounds, stalled drives with unordinary, extra, just created gadget plays end arounds for no reason. It makes no sense that Bobby Slowick is calling these plays when you have this talent. The levels in the receiving game are pretty much non-existent, and there's only like one level that you can see, and that's Tanico running deep ins and maybe a deep out. He needs to put it together, and it's a struggle that I'm seeing, and that puts the offensive line in these struggles. They're already undisciplined, and then when CJ has to wait so long for these plays to develop, it puts you in such a bad position, and that's when you get the holding penalties. You get offensive linemen moving formation penalties. We're getting too creative and need to get back to the basics. Let's talk some of the stats, and we'll talk the stats later, but you'll see that CJ threw for 304 yards. You're going to see that. You're going to see that the Houston's rushing game went 18 for 91. It was not that good, but they were seemingly, I won't say efficient, but seemingly there enough and popping big enough plays to keep drives going, which were ultimately negated by the offensive line. It's a frustrating game, extremely frustrating. But one thing you'll see is D'Amico kind of reiterating that, hold on. Is that something we're supposed to do? Because as you see on the screen, the undisciplined nature of this team is going to bite us in the butt, especially down this backstretch where we have the Bills, the teams like the Bills coming, or we're going to the Bills, I believe. Let me check that out. But we're playing the Bills. We're playing some talented teams, and what are we supposed to do when you can't lose these games by these penalties? So we have to do better in this game. Our next stretch is the Bills, Patriots, Packers, Colts, Jets. Those are teams that can just get off on you really quickly and just take over games. So what can we do as a Texans, as a team? Subscribe, like, and share. Let's talk about it on Twitter as well at Sports Social TV on Twitter. You see me tweeting all night long. I'm coming to you live from Japan. Subscribe, like, and share. Follow us on Twitter. But let's talk about this. The offensive struggles and undisciplined nature of the team is frustrating. It's infuriating. I have seen so many flags called. This is more than you see in Little League football. Tunsil, I believe they had an over and under for Tunsil. An over and under for flag for highest paid left tackle. I believe he's making upwards of $20 million a year is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I can't fathom you just getting these calls. Maybe he's hurt and taking a long time to get out of his stance. Something has to be going on. Sports psychologist, something. We pay this line too much to get so many penalties and install these drives. The undisciplined nature of this team is crazy. And especially if you think about the one punt return that we had, and there was an unsportsmanlike conduct there. I think that was completely unnecessary, and I think you probably lost your seat on the team. There, I got a fly coming in. Lost your seat on the team, sir. That was pretty ridiculous. But the undisciplined nature of the team is frustrating. Let's talk about one thing, and we'll talk about it probably all throughout this week. Bobby Slowick. What the hell? Bobby Slowick has been given so much praise. He was interviewing for head coaching. I know he has the potential, but right now is a time where you go back to basics. You have too much firepower, and your firepower with the basics can get you far. You don't have to be extra creative. If you're going to run these schemes that you're running, you need to set them up. Go back to basics. Set up the schemes. You want to run the ball to the outside, you got to have a running back that can do it. Cam Akers, receiving out of the backfield is his specialty. Get some more plays like that if you want to do something with Cam Akers, if you want to force it to him. But these outside running games give the defense, they didn't have anything to do but pin their ears back and run at an angle, cut the ball back in, and make the play. And that's all they were doing. They weren't doing anything that a high school football team, that Pearland High School, can't do. So you're telling me that this is the offense that deserves this high praise? You're telling me that Bobby Slowick deserves this high praise? I need to see more. And yes, you give the offensive line some flack because they're getting these penalties and his big plays are negated. But we need those short to mid routes, those short to mid receiving routes. Where are those? Those levels. Hey, let's get down to the flats. CJ has to be better as well. CJ has to know when to pull the ball down and run. He tried a little bit more this game, but defenses aren't worried about that. Some of these plays he's extending, it's probably best to either pull it down and run out of bounds, run and slide, or throw it to the underneath man and get those yards if you don't want to do so. But extending the play so long is only leading to flags and undisciplined from my offensive line, which is undisciplined, and also it's leading to some craziness that is unnecessary for my team. But I want to know what you feel about Bobby Slowick. Tell me how you feel he called the game. I think it was very lackluster. He can do better. He's calling like a Canadian Football League team, and I'm disappointed in what I've seen so far. I'm also disappointed in both coaches' game management. The game management has been subpar. You could tell they're still working on it. Maybe a sophomore slump, but they have to get better at game management. A few times we're letting that clock beat us as well. But let's go on and talk about something that let's give a good view of the game. By looking at the stats, you'll see on the page, on the screen, our stats are not terrible. The only thing I think we can do better in is the rushing game, but we outrushed Jacksonville. So stat wise, you see us, and it's the same for last week against the Vikings. Stat wise, we were pretty good, and we beat them in most segments of the game. But the game was just so backwards that that's crazy. It says Jaguars 21. I don't know why this looks like that, but let me refresh that. The game was just so backwards that it just uh, it just couldn't you just couldn't figure it out. There it goes. The screen was a little bit messed up. 24 it's 24-20, and the Texans win this game. But I just don't understand what they were doing. What was going on? What was the issue? Here, let me go ahead and update this screen. I'm gonna remove that there and make sure that we are on point. But I am not happy with how the Texans were playing. The Texans were playing pretty lackluster. They won the game 24 to 20. 24 to 20. And you could see that it was frustrating for all sides of the ball. Just bad offense, bad play calling, bad everything. So for the Texans, what are your thoughts? What can the Texans do to improve? Is it just get back in the saddle and play, play the same game, which I don't think you can. I don't think they can afford to do that. Or do they just go back to basics? Let me know down in the comments. Subscribe, like, share. As you see here on the screen, we did pretty good. CJ Stroud, 27 for 40 with 345 yards. And, our rushing game was pretty good. They broke the 100-yard mark, averaged 3.9 yards a carry. So I'm not mad at what went on. And I actually have to correct myself from earlier. We were outrushed by Jacksonville. They're late. That last stat sheet was wrong. But, hey, the Texans broke the 100-yard mark with Mixon out. And I think they're just waiting for Mixon to come back. So, how did you like how the Texans offense played? Let's talk about defense. On the defense side of the ball, it was not the best, but I'm not too mad at it. As a defense, they held them to 20 points. They put the Texans, we had big fourth down stops. They put the Texans in the perfect place to make a comeback. But D'Amico, it seems like the defense constantly gives these cushions, and they're waiting for the front seven to make these plays. And contrary to popular belief, Jacksonville had a solid offensive line, and the Texans pressures were getting back there. We had a couple sacks, but I did see that Jacksonville, they didn't do bad. Our DBs could have played a little bit better. Petrie got beat a couple times, but he had a crazy one-on-one with Kirk. That's tough. That's tough for anybody. We're lucky Ingram wasn't there, but it was tough. Brian Thomas Jr. was going off this game, but he's good. I don't mind when big-time players make big-time plays, but the Texans have to continue battling, as I've said before. Up and down Twitter, a lot of people had a lot of discussion regarding the Texans and what was going on. I'm kind of surprised at some of the fans kind of brashness and going crazy. We have a weird fan base, and it's coming out more and more that our fan base is just fickle at times and is unrealistic. Let's be clear. Laremy Tunsil has had flags, right? The offensive line is getting undisciplined, playing undisciplined football. Let's say it like that. But we can't put it past the offensive line to call these extravagant line plays. The offensive coordinator has to know what's going on with the tempo of the game. Putting linemen in the right place to make plays is the same thing as putting DBs and receivers and running backs in the right places to make plays. I put a lot of this on Bobby Slowick and D'Amico for the undisciplined nature of the team. I also put a lot of this on just the pure game management of the team. Hey, if you get in a rhythm, getting them tempo, keep it up. It seems like CJ likes a little bit more tempo. So if you're going to be at more tempo, find the levels, on the field. You have to, if you're gonna run that zone scheme, find it. Cam Akers might not be that zone type of guy. Do you put Dare in and let him do his thing? We just might not have it right now with Mixon out, and we might not have it for a couple of weeks with Mixon being hurt. So can we find that extra level? But on to the defense, they were bend but don't break. I I'm okay with what the defense did out there. I'm okay. Stingley was playing his butt off. They were flying around to the ball. They had some play. I mean, the Jacksonville's gonna make plays. This is the NFL. I'm just I'm just I want to see more. I want to see some more from them. I want to see them kind of play a little bit. I don't know if I want to say more aggressive. I want to see what Autry does too. It seemed like we didn't have that defensive tackle pressure that we typically had even against the Vikings. We did not have that. So can we get that slight spark back to assist the struggling offense? I hope so. But going later in the game, I'll go back to the offensive struggles. Going later in the game, we did see that they did pick up the tempo. They still struggled to score that touchdown, but the tempo did pick up as they went and drove on that final play. I like the game management towards the end of the game a little bit better by D'Amico. I like his positioning on the sideline, his demeanor with how he was next to the ref when he called that timeout with 20 seconds left or so. Just managing that 4 minute or 2 to 4 minute offense was good on Slowick and D'Amico on that last drive. They knew what they had to do. Some big time players making big time plays with Nico, but I like what they were doing out there. I'm just frustrated, man. I'm frustrated with what's going on with the team. I mean, we had the high hopes. You would think that D'Amico would put that discipline in for the team. I'm frustrated. So, how do you guys feel about this? How do you guys feel about the Texans? How do you feel that we will fare against the Bills? That's interesting to see. That's all that I have. I'm Lance Hayes with Sports Social Live. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Social Live TV. And also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Salute.